Hello everyone. Today we're going to be working on chapter 5 and I'm going to start with paragraph 4. The critical idealist can, however, go even further and say, I am confined to the world of my mental pictures and cannot escape from it. If I think of a thing as being behind my mental picture, then thought is again nothing but a mental picture. An idealist of this type will either deny the thing in itself entirely, or at any rate assert that it has no significance for human beings. In other words, that it is as good as non-existent, since we can know nothing of it. And the summary for 4, there's 2 versions. The critical idealist, confined in a world of mental pictures, will not be able to say if anything exists behind these pictures, other than more mental pictures. Therefore, the thing behind is insignificant, or does not exist. And the other version is, the critical idealist, enclosed in a world of mental pictures, will not be able to say if anything exists behind these pictures other than more mental pictures. Therefore, the thing behind either doesn't exist or is completely insignificant. So that paragraph's just basically saying that the critical idealist only knows the world of mental pictures, and therefore they argue away that nothing really exists because they only just know their mental pictures, and we can never know anything directly for them. So they believe everything is just a dream. Actually, he goes on to discuss that furthermore. So we're going to move on to paragraph 5. To this kind of critical idealist, the whole world seems a dream, in the face of which all striving for knowledge is simply meaningless. For him, there can only be 2 sorts of men: victims of the illusion that their own dream structure are real things, and the wise ones who see through the nothingness of this dream world, and who must therefore gradually lose all desire to trouble themselves further about it. From this point of view, even one's own personality may become a mere dream phantom. Just as during sleep there appears among my dream images an image of myself, so in waking consciousness the mental picture of my own eye is added to the mental picture of the outer world. We have then given to us in consciousness not our real eye, but only our mental picture of our eye. Whoever denies that things exist, or at least that we can know anything of them, must also deny the existence, or at least the knowledge of one's own personality. The critical idealist then comes to the conclusion that all reality resolves itself into a wonderful dream, without a life, which is dreamed about, and without a spirit, which is having the dream, into a dream which hangs together in a dream of itself. And the summary for that is, to the critical idealist, reality is just a dream, which is made up of mental pictures. One can then have no real direct knowledge of the I, only a mental picture of one. For the critical idealist, all striving for knowledge is meaningless. So, again, the main points in this paragraph is that, as a theory of knowledge, all striving for knowledge is just meaningless, that's kind of silly, though. And well, it's kind of sad as well, because they just kind of give up on things. And I guess for them, what's important is to just wake up from this illusion that what we perceive is real and that everything is really just a dream. It's kind of I find it a pessimistic theory, and but this is what Steiner's describing as their theory. So everything just ends up being a dream, and nothing is really real. Life is just this dream of mental pictures and whatnot. So that's what this paragraph is discussing. I think that's pretty straightforward. Paragraph 6. For the person who believes that he recognizes our immediate life to be a dream, it is immaterial whether he postulates nothing more behind this dream, or whether he relates his mental pictures to actual things. In both cases, life must lose all academic interest for him. But whereas all cases, life must lose all academic But whereas all learning must be meaningless for those who believe that the whole of the accessible universe is exhausted in dreams, yet for others who feel entitled to argue for mental pictures two things, learning will consist in the investigation of these things in themselves. The first of these theories may be called absolute illusionism. The second is called transcendental realism by its most rigorously logical exponent, Edward von Hartmann. The summary that we have for that is, for 6, is this theory describes absolute illusionism. The second theory, which is also based on the idea that we only have knowledge of our mental pictures, is called transcendental realism. They believe that we can gain knowledge by making inference about things based on our mental pictures. So these two things are absolute illusionism and transcendental realism are just variations of the critical idealism. So for as he mentioned, the absolute illusionism is basically what he was just describing in paragraph 5. Okay, so in paragraph 6, for the absolute illusionist, learning for them is meaningless, and because they believe just everything is a dream. And for the transcendental realists, what they're going to do is they're going to argue from mental picture to things. So what they're going to do is try and look for and investigate things in themselves, which Steiner's going to explain further on in this chapter about transcendental realism. So that's sort of the main points. The main points in paragraph 6 is just that he's pointing out these two variations of critical idealism and what they want to learn, what they get out of their theories, because someone who is an absolute illusionist will see no point in knowledge, in seeking knowledge, and for him or her, the point of knowledge would be to just realize that, come to the point where you realize everything is just a dream, everything is just a mental picture. Whereas if you're a transcendental realist, you would look and investigate things in themselves. I'm going to just do paragraph 7. It's really short, so both these points of view have this in common with naive realism, that they seek to gain a footing in the world by means of an investigation of perceptions. Within this sphere, however, they are unable to find a firm foundation. And the paragraph summary for 7 is, both theories agree with naive realism and that they seek to establish a firm footing in the world through the investigation of perceptions. And basically it's just saying that they have in common with naive realism is this, that they both incorporate the idea of perceptions, but again, the interpretation of a perception is different with these theories. For critical idealists, perception of the perception of a percept is that it's not real, it's just a mental picture. So and a naive realist looks at a perception differently. They look at it, that's real, that's what we need to start with. So it's interesting that they look at the same thing, but they interpret what it means differently. So that's basically what Steiner's pointing out in that paragraph. So I look forward to seeing you all again. Again, if you have questions or comments, just please message me, and happy thinking.